All right, guys, we're back here in the home office, and we got Justin Colby with us again. Thanks, Justin, for being here. And we've got Layla here, apparently joining us on this video as well. And today's video is going to be a real treat. We're going to be talking about wholesaling real estate in 2021, and really we want to dig into some adjustments that you're making, Justin, your game plan, what your predictions are, maybe a little bit about how you're going to be doing your business in this coming year. And we're going to cover all of that and more coming up.
For a limited time, you can get a free copy of Jerry Norton's virtual wholesaling guide so you can flip houses online without leaving your home. Download it now at virtualwholesaleguide.com.
Hey, if you're new here, I'm Jerry Norton, and I went from dead broke to millionaire flipping houses. And after doing 1,000 deals, I started this channel to help you master the art of wholesaling and flipping real estate so you can live your dream life. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to get notified when new videos are released. Well, Justin, it's great to have you back here in the home office, do another video here. Yeah. I really appreciate all you bring to the industry and your insights and just your willingness to share. If you guys missed our previous video, be sure to check that out. I'll put a link in the description. We talked about getting your first wholesale deal. Yeah. And what I want to do on this video, Justin, is kind of dive in a little bit more into the upcoming year right now. I mean, as of this release, we're at the end of 2020. Yeah. A lot's happened this year.
Wild year, dude.
And what I love about you is you took the approach I took, which is when the pandemic happened, rather than sit the sidelines like a lot of people did, you doubled down and actually put in more effort.
That's it.
And saw the opportunity, which is what I did. When it happened, I was like, let's go, baby, game on. Yeah. And it was a good move because, you know, it's been great since, for real estate anyway. And so, you know, what's your overall feelings? How are you feeling about 2021?
You know, 2021, I'm pretty optimistic, actually. I just did a video myself about kind of what the outlook looks like on 2021. And the reason why I'm so optimistic is several fold. In our space, interest rates I don't believe are going to go anywhere through the Fed. So I think, again, people out there in our space are saying foreclosure, floods, or whatever, tsunami, it's everywhere, right? And I can appreciate where they're coming from because people aren't paying rent, which means people aren't paying mortgages. But we have a long time before I believe something like that comes in. And so I would say the first 2 quarters, I think, are actually going to continue on the same path that we're at right now, finishing Q4 of 2020. Mm-hmm. I would say the interest rates are going to remain low. I think it would be very silly for them to raise that. I think because of this new stay-at-home rule, law, whatever we want to call it, I think there are going to be more people moving out of big cities. Yeah. So people are going to be living or leaving the big cities, which means single-family homes are going to be continue to have high demand. We're already, and this is your space, not even my space, we're already seeing a huge demand for 7-figure properties, higher end properties, because the people who are doing well are leaving states like California and New York, and they want this house, right? And so I actually think there's going to be a lot of demand, and it will continue to outpace the actual inventory. Now, I think that'll for sure happen Q1. I think that's a pretty high likelihood Q2. Q3 is where there could be some potential to say you might want to have a little bit more reservation when you're going out there acquiring. The thing I love about wholesaling, little to no risk. Yeah. And you always have a great buyer, right? So you either have yourself who wants to flip it, or you go and have yourself who wants to continue his portfolio, right? Yeah. And you're going to look at the deal differently. I believe, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I think Q3 is where some of this foreclosure stuff could come to light. Yeah. And in general, I'm very positive. I'm very bullish going into 2021. I don't see any of the fundamentals that would tell me not to be.
Well, it's interesting because I take very much the same approach you're taking to the market, which is interest rates aren't going anywhere. They've said that. They're not going to raise interest rates. I don't think they're going to come up at all in 2021. But I don't see it happening. Why would they, right?
I don't know.
I also don't believe there's going to be a tsunami of foreclosures, despite a gazillion videos on YouTube that there are. And part of the reason I believe that is because people have equity. Yeah. It's not like last time where everybody second mortgaged and refinanced all their equity. The banks don't let you do that now. I read that on average, the average American has $70,000 in equity, which means if they lose their job, they're not going to walk from that property and give it back to the bank. They're going to try and sell it and recapture some of that equity. It's just a fact, right? Why would you walk if you have equity? So we're not going to see, we'll see foreclosures, but not a tsunami of them. In reality, we're probably going to see low inventory again through 2021, even though unemployment rate is definitely high. There's such low inventory. There's no sign that that low inventory is going to increase, which means real estate is just going to stay a high demand.
Yep.
Values are probably going to stay up more than likely. But, you know, setting all of that aside, Justin, for you and me as wholesalers, a little bit different if you're a fix and flipper, which we both do, because now you're looking at maybe a 6-month window instead of a 2-week window with wholesaling.
Right.
You now have to look at that deal with a fix and flip a little bit longer. But what's so great about flipping, wholesaling, or fix and flip is we're in those deals for such a short window of time that if we're careful and if we're smart, it really doesn't matter what the market's doing. Like I really, honestly, I don't care. I really don't care.
Right.
I mean, I care in the regard of I don't want to see, the market drop just for the sake of that's not good for anybody. But as far as my business model,
you run on foundations. We talked about it the other video.
Matter. Yeah.
You have a foundation, you have a blueprint, you run on it. It doesn't matter. You're not so shield, you're not Superman, but as long as you run on your principles, very, very difficult to get hurt.
I mean, if you think about it, the real estate market is cyclical, right? So it goes like this. That's just what it does. And as wholesalers, we buy at a discount and source deals for cash buyers. So we just we follow that curve, right? So whatever it's doing, we're under that. We're buying at a discount, whatever that number looks like. We look at comps, we look at data, we talk to our buyers, we know where they're at. Ultimately, it doesn't care. If you're a wholesaler, it ultimately doesn't care what you think. What matters is what your buyers are willing to pay.
That's right.
And you come under that.
Because, like you say, the real estate industry does this naturally.
Yeah.
But it hasn't in over a decade.
Yeah. It's just
which is the longest time in the real estate, tracking records or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just like, fundamentally, we should have some sort of, maybe not recession, but rollback to some level. I think if I can give any advice, I think 2021, be bullish, stay strong, use Jerry's fundamentals. They work, right? That's why he's done this for 16 years. It's just, you run a fundamental program, you run by the principles, you won't get hurt. It's when you take the risks. Anytime I've financially taken hits, I took the risk, right? And I knew it, right? I did a 79 townhome unit development out here in Mesa, got my ass handed to me. And it's because I went outside of my fundamentals. I went outside of my core competency. You stick to what Jerry and you teach and what you do so well. I would be very bullish in 2021 because all the things we're talking about.
And a trend to be thinking about, guys, is those rural neighborhoods. I mean, I did this wholesale deal a few months ago in the middle of nowhere, Maryland.
Sure.
And when I was looking at the deal and comping, I'm like, how am I going to find a cash buyer? There aren't even people here. But then I'm looking around and I'm like, there's a flip. And I ended up finding a Baltimore flipper, cash buyer. Yeah. And he's like, I'll go an hour out of the city to go to that deal. And it was a hot property and days on market were low. And I was like, man, why are there buyers out here? And it makes sense when you really think about what's going on. There's this movement. So I think I've heard Sean Terry talk about this too, where their PPCs really targeting those rural areas where no one else is targeting. So I think that's a big thing. I think definitely look at as a hot property. I'm looking a lot at floor plan, layout, bedrooms, office, because you're going to get a premium for those properties, I think, in 2021.
It's incredible that if you have the buyers, you win at the wholesale space. And that's why, like I said, I'm doing 10 to 20 a month because I have the buyers. Yeah. And there's just people who don't. They'll send it to their list, it won't move. I send it to mine, it moves. And so it's incredible if there's a term out there that our friend Kent Clothier talks about, which is the reverse wholesaling. Yeah. Find the buyer, shop for it. It's just brilliant, right? Yeah. If you know you have Jerry in your back pocket, and I know Jerry wants lots in PV, I just go find him lots in PV, right? It's not like I have to go spend a lot of marketing dollars. You just told me the story about the kid. He literally looked for you, found it, made $40,000.
$40,000, yeah.
That's
really
how
cool.
You win.
It's funny, Justin. So we have a deal we're closing on Friday, a Mesa wholesale, right here. And when we got the deal, we got it for 206, and I ran my numbers, and I'm like, yeah, 220 is the number. 14K wholesale deal, 220 is the number. And then we put it out there. We start talking to some cash buyers, and we get a 225. And then we follow a technique I do, which is we find a flipper in the same neighborhood. go to the agent who sold it and say, does your investor want another deal? Yeah. And so that flipper, this is like 4 days in, you know, from marketing for a cash buyer. And this flipper says, we just went pending. We want that deal. What's the number? And so I said, well, this is the number that'll get it done right now. And it was $230. So like a $24,000 wholesale. And I'm like blown away because I'm like, why is he paying that much? I don't get it. That's not the number I'm coming up with. But I'm not the buyer, he's the buyer. And I gotta understand why he's willing to pay $230. So I'm asking him, what is your ARV on this thing? What is your repair budget? Like, help me understand what you're thinking here so that I can be a better wholesaler. Because the better I can understand what that cash buyer is thinking, how he's analyzing my deal, then the better I can be on my next one and my next one and my next one. So that's what I mean by learn your cash buyer, learn the way they're looking at the market, they're looking at deals, what their formula is, how they're analyzing ARV and repairs. And then that's how you're gonna really maximize your profits.
Again, this is why I say don't prejudge your buyers. You never know, and especially for someone like myself, like I have a pretty massive buyers list. I never know who's really on that and who's really looking. We just wholesaled a deal to a woman realtor who's gonna buy it, to live in it, to rehab it herself so she can flip it, so she can skip out on capital gains.
Yeah.
It was not a deal. No. I promise you, you would have laughed at me and be like, stop sending me your junk.
Yeah.
She bought it, and I think we made like $24,000 on it.
Yeah.
But that's just because I didn't prejudge my list. I got one call on that deal, and it was her, and it sold.
Yeah. So bottom line, guys, I think if we were to kind of summarize this entire video in one sentence, it would be, it really doesn't matter what the heck's going on in 2021. The beauty of wholesaling is you go out there and you make it work based on whatever's happening at that moment in time in the marketplace, which means who cares about this and who cares about that, just go do the business.
Go execute, right?
Yeah. So everything adjusts. That's why it's important that you follow an expert that you like and trust, someone like Justin or me, who's got their pulse on the market, they're active doing deals, and then see what they're doing, follow what they're doing, learn these trends. But that's what's so great about wholesaling is you just, whatever the market's doing, whatever your cash buyers are doing, give them what they want.
Amen, brother.
All right. Thanks again, Justin.
Hey,
awesome having you.
Yep.
I love having this kind of conversation. It's so fun for me to have a conversation like this about the industry. And you guys listening right now too, leave a comment and share your big takeaway maybe from this video. And also leave a comment and say, Justin, you are a flipping genius.
I love it. Thank you, bro.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.